you think? Good.
Alright guys, so maybe a couple closing thoughts before I end today's videos and stuff like that. But, you know, the recurring theme in my life, or throughout my entire life, has been keeping people around. There's got to be a better way to word that, but what I mean specifically by that is you can't force friends to want to hang out with you. You can't force lovers to want to stay with you. And you can't force girlfriends to please you. And what I've learned over time is, you know, there's certain types of people, and some types of people don't want to be alone. That's me. Some people only want to be alone. And some people want to have defined or bounded relationships. So they might want to hang out with you, but only under certain circumstances. Or they might want to hang out with you, but not actually open up with you. Or some people have dependent relationships where they'll hang out with you and do whatever as long as you pay for everything. And there's tons and tons of different types of relationships and all that. And, you know, there's people that leech, and then there's people that want to buy everything in their lives, buy their friends, buy their spouses, and all that stuff. So it takes time to understand how all this stuff works and plays out and all that, especially being a man. For women, it's a totally different ball game. You know, women, especially in the United States, have a whole different playbook in terms of how they date, how they spend money, how they get things in their lives. I'm not really going to talk about that here, though. But so, like I said, the recurring theme throughout my entire life is keeping people in my life or around me. And it took me many, many years to understand um, what that all meant. You know, growing up, I had a really big problem of, you know, friends wanting to play with me or hang out with me and stuff like that. And I didn't understand why, you know, I'd have a group of friends and they would all hang out without me and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, so, like I said, you have all these different aspects of relationships and you know, and the one thing that you can control and that I've essentially learned over time is to make yourself more interesting. And, you know, the world is full of many, many uninteresting people. Many, many people that don't take the time to invest in themselves. Many people that don't spend the effort or put forth the effort to take up a new passion or a new hobby or a new profession or any sort of stuff like that. And those are the sort of people that I would consider, you know, not interesting. And I don't know if it necessarily applies to this, but there's a online personality guy. His name is Dan Bilzerian. And this guy is he's a millionaire supposedly. I don't know much about him, but he created a legal weed company called Ignite, and he was like an online personality. He would always be doing stupid shit with hot chicks and all that, and of course people follow him and look into him and all that sort of stuff, and idolize him, I should say. And kind of almost like a new age Hugh Hefner, where he always has like all these banging hot chicks at his mansion or mansions or on his airplanes flying wherever. But he made a post and he said, listen, don't call women or a woman a slut. He said something like, don't call a woman a slut just because you prefer to hang out with boring women. He says, I prefer not to hang out with boring women. So the chicks that he hangs out with are beautiful. They like to party. They like to dance. They like to run around in bikinis and all that sort of stuff. And it really resonated with me because, like, a typical boring married household, your chick is self-conscious, doesn't want to wear a bikini, has headaches and this and that, and doesn't want to have sex, and um, is straight edge, doesn't want to do drugs or whatever it is, all these constraints, you start out, with nothing, and then you kind of put up all these barriers and all these walls, and to the point where you don't have any fun anymore doing anything. So the whole idea is, make yourself interesting. It's gonna attract more people towards you, and if anything, at least open up more opportunities to attract people that are into the things that you want to do or like to do. If you're constantly chasing the dragon, if you're chasing after other people and essentially doing what they like to do, one, you're never going to be happy. Two, you're probably going to run out of money because you're trying to do everything else. And three, you're probably not even going to really enjoy it or like it. So you're probably going to suck at it anyway because it's not something you want to do. But I just, especially in the last like 5 years or maybe even a little bit more than 5 years because of all the stuff I've gone through, I've had so many people just kind of drift off, out of my life. And, in the past, I would struggle and grasp and plead and beg and hope and pray that they would stick around or still like me, or I could do something more to please them or whatever it was. And now it's just like I'm finding out that, I was bending over backwards so much for everyone else to the point that I was breaking. And ultimately, they would eventually leave or fade out or whatever. And I would just be left with this feeling of dread or whatever. This situation with my friend Jess, like, I don't understand why her and I can't be friends. Um, and I don't want to say the same thing for the Rochelle situation because I broke that one off, man. Like, with her, I didn't understand why she couldn't respect me more, I guess. Well, with Rochelle, I kind of understand why she didn't, but it still was a shitty thing. It was because of my situation, because I'm living with my parents, and all that sort of stuff. Like, I'm less of a man because I'm not successful in her eyes and stuff. But, I'm trying to figure out how to process this thing with my friend Jess and all that, and I don't, her and I never dated. We would hang out. We never did anything. We never got physical. None of that. And I get sad because I really do like hanging out with Jess and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of what's weighing heavy on my mind today. Um, but I don't know, man. I don't know. there's just there's a huge group or percentage of people that all they want to do is please someone else, and many of them in the process of trying to accomplish that or do that lose themselves. And I'm trying to determine if that's an empath thing. Empaths always try to sympathize with others, take on their burdens, those sorts of things. But I just, I don't know. I don't know. So where I'm going with this is you can't force someone to stay in your life. You can't force someone to love you. You can't force someone to take care of you. And you can't force someone to provide you with your basic needs of happiness and pleasure and fulfillment and joy and love and all that sort of stuff. It's most of that has to come from within. You have to find that in yourself, and by finding it in yourself and putting it out there, it's going to attract the right type of people. Because people attract others all the time, regardless. It's just what kind of people do you attract? Is it fake friends and false friends and temporary lovers and all that sort of stuff? So I don't have any sage advice. This is just my experience going through all this my whole life. Is when I stopped investing in others and started investing in myself, I became more happy. And the friends will drift in, drift out, just like clouds. They'll come back. If it's meant to be, they'll come back. All you can do is handle everything gracefully and with tact, and try to leave off or end off things on a good note. So when the time is right, they'll come back. So I'm not quite sure. You know, that's another thing too with friends and even family and lovers too, is when you're in a good place and they're not in a good place, they want to drag you down. And vice versa. I'll admit, when others are doing well or whatever and riding on the high horse and I'm not doing so well, I don't like it. But you got to watch out for those sorts of things. Because, especially in this society, people don't want to put in the work. People want that quick fix. They want that little hit of adrenaline or like the feel good stuff. That's we're speeding up faster and faster, but some things still take time. Some things still take being there and doing those things and talking and communicating and all that sort of stuff. I looked back today at the video from yesterday, 1 year ago, that went live yesterday, but it was from 1 year ago. So it was 6/30/2018. And actually, to be honest, I looked at the video from today, so 7/1/2018, and I had hung out with Jess for the first time on 7/1, many years. And I actually compared hanging out with Jess with hanging out with Nikki, and on that day, 1 year ago today, I said that I actually had a better connection with Nikki than, or on that day, than I did with Jess. And it's true. Jess was in a really tough spot. And I understand it. I don't hold it against her, but the timing wasn't right. And with timing and chemistry and all that sort of stuff, you can't rush certain things. You just can't. And you certainly can't force things like that. that's the underlying theme of what happened with Rochelle. If you guys, if somebody, anyone out there watches every single one of these videos that I post, back when I was courting and all about Rochelle, man, she had me freaking out. She had me just not, mentally, I was just so fucked up. She wasn't on the same level of commitment or whatever as I was. And, that discrepancy or that gap, it just, I'm always questioning, like, well, why isn't she doing this or why isn't she doing that? Like, I don't get any of that sort of feeling with Nikki ever. And even knowing, like, my friend Jess, I would hear from her, like every day for a week, and then, days she would just go off the grid and not respond or reply to anything. And it's like, what's she doing? But with Nikki, it's always been different. It's been natural. Like, it's not forced. And it's been like that ever since day one. Her and I were talking about our first date over the weekend. And everything has just been really kind of just fluid, and we're both just super compromising, and just it feels good. There's no other way to put it. So I don't know. Anyone watching this video, just kind of think about these things in your own life. Has conversation and relationships come easy? And it may, or has it always been a struggle? And you're gonna have to figure out: is it you? Is it others? Is it something you can do to change? I kind of just internally, or in my mind, I just took back the power in relationships to the point where I don't force anything. If someone wants to walk, I'm not giving anyone that power over me that I'm going to chase them. And that's been tough. That's been tough. Like, cuz that goes against everything that I've ever done my whole life. And it's one of those things, but it's just like some people think that they hold this massive power over you, and in many cases they may or might. But like for me, I've in recent years just walked away from so many different relationships and stuff that usually leaves the other person baffled, but at the same time, like, typically it's because they're playing games or doing like the power struggle games, and those little tests and all that sort of stuff. And they get really, really bent out of shape when they kind of see through my actions that I realize, like, they're not even worth playing those games for. I'm just like, yeah, okay, well, yeah, you don't want to text me back or call me back or keep blowing me off? Cool, I'll see you out there. And then they're like, hey, what happened? Where you been? What's going on? Why aren't you talking to me? And I'm like, got other stuff going on, man. Busy. That's it. You know, I do that now with friends. I do that with family. And I've been doing it with spouses and stuff. I walked away from me and Vicky's relationship. We had been together for over 2 years, and I walked away from that. I ran away from me and Missy's relationship. Her and I had been together over a year. And Rochelle, I burned that bridge, man. I said, you know what? Fuck it. You're not worth it. What I'm seeing and what you're doing, not worth it. See ya. And she was one of my friends for almost 20 years. Jess said a comment today that solidified that what I'm doing is, I don't want to say right or correct, but it's what I want to do. It's what she said was that I was the one person she liked hanging out with the most. And I'm not going to end things bad with her. You know, for whatever reason, she needs some time. She's mad she can't have me now or whatever it is, but she's going to realize she would rather have me as a friend, potentially, than lose me. But finding out that a lot of women are ego driven too, man. And that's the reason for a lot of the headbutting with them, and her button heads, not headbutting, but butting heads with them. And they want to stand their ground, and then when they realize like that I'm different, their tune changes. Jess, she told me a long time ago, she said, well, I'm not used to like chasing a guy. She didn't even comprehend that. Like, she didn't realize, like, oh, I got to put in some effort or work. Like, because I would give her shit all the time. I'm like, dude, you never gave me one inkling that you were ever even remotely interested into me. I wasn't looking for somebody to kick the tires with or somebody to dabble with. Like, no. And I think that's why she's so pissed off, is that I'm not responding to, her spell or whatever. I'm not chasing after her. Like, I changed my whole outlook on that sort of stuff a long time ago. I'm not going to do that anymore. So curious what you guys' thoughts are on all this stuff. I mean, it's stuff that people go through all the time. The way I am with relationships now, I'm gonna be turning 38 at the end of this year, is way different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and then even almost when I was like in college, of course. Yep, that's it. See ya. Alright, guys. Hey, good morning. It is Monday, July 1st, 2019. I'm headed into work for the day and just kind of getting things back into normal. Funny thing that I noticed yesterday, my friend Jess blocked me on Messenger. Well, actually blocked me on Facebook. I don't exactly know why. I have a couple ideas why, but yeah. So I guess that's it for hanging out or friendship or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Her and I were talking about doing 2 5Ks together. There's a Bears one in 2 weeks. There's a Big Ten one in the city in August. And I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on, but it might have something to do with me being so happy with Nikki or something. So, Jess hasn't really been having a good time with relationships and all that stuff. So she kind of gets a little weird with all the relationship stuff. And I don't think she wants to just be friends, as weird as that sounds. So, it's a shame. It's a shame. Her and I have such a great time when we hang out together. I understand it, and it is what it is. I went through the same shit when Rochelle realized that I had a good relationship. She tried to, bark back up the tree and send me messages, and then all of a sudden she wanted to talk to me and all that, and it's like, it's sad, but I mean, I understand it. Guys do the same thing, when a girl's single, they're like, but when she's taken, they're like, hey girl, how you doing? And I get it. It's part of human nature. It's competitiveness. It's like, wanting something you can't have. I understand that, but like, when the time was right, like, these are the people that didn't give a fucking damn. These are the people that didn't want to try, didn't really care. And I don't want to be an option. I want to be a priority. I don't want to be, like, oh, well, there's nothing else going on, so let me call up Bob. Like, no, that's not, I'm not looking for that kind of relationship. I want someone that's just as intense and just as all in as I am. And that's Nikki. It really is. I don't mention this very much, but she is very motivated and very serious. She's what I've been looking for. And I'm not looking to fuck around on the side and stuff. Like, I'm not. So, I mean, if that's what the holdup was or the issue was with my other friends, then I guess they gotta go. It sucks. The way life works is if it's meant to be, it's gonna happen. I am so beyond over trying to force relationships and shit like that. Like, fuck, man. It just doesn't work doing that. Like, no, it doesn't. I'm not happy. I'm stressed out. It's so much energy wasted, and it's not worth it. So, yeah. Today's Monday. I was going to start running today and training for these 5Ks and stuff, but maybe not so much anymore. Had an incredible weekend with Nikki. Much needed. Yesterday, what did we do yesterday? I cut the grass. We had some violent storms run through the neighborhood last night, man. Yesterday, like afternoon or so. And we went and visited. We actually went out to eat last night. We went to Lone Star and got some salads. I was just in the mood for some salad. And then we, where else did we go? We went right to this, I think it was called like Rollin Hills. It was one of the cities that band that she likes was playing. And we got, she was working their merchandise table and stuff, so got to see a live concert. They're going to cut the concert short. They're going to only play for like maybe an hour because they thought like rain was impending. And then they said that no, there's no rain coming. So they played a full set. I should say they only did 2 sets. So, but they played the full amount of time. I don't know. I guess the Beatles had different eras and shit. And this band, they changed costumes and all that stuff to represent the different eras and each type of music in each era. So they played extra long on their first set. I think they usually do 3 sets. Played extra long because they thought like they were just going to end it after that one set. So they played for like 90 minutes. And then they said, well, you know what, let's keep this going. So they took a break, changed into their Sgt. Pepper outfits. And then they, after they did that, then they put, they played their Sgt. Pepper stuff. But it was good. It was fun. So I gotta get into work. Alright guys, so hey, I just had a random thought and I figured I would add this. So I probably had talked about this a long time ago. So this ties into people realizing when they've lost a good opportunity and most likely regretting that. So back when I was single, I was talking to various people, and this is back when I was trying to court Rochelle, and probably might have even been talking to Nikki and whoever else. I was dating a few people back then. But I was talking to this one girl online, and I realized that she was local. And, I friended her or something, or she had friended me, or I don't even know how it came about. And I was talking to her for a week or two, just online, messaging back and forth. I'm like, oh, hey, you're into shooting, I'm into shooting, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know how I know this girl, but we're like following each other on Instagram. And then all of a sudden she just made a comment and threw out something about Ryan. And I'm like, Ryan who? And she knew Luke and our buddy Ryan, she knew him. And, you know, so I was like, who the fuck is this chick? I'm like, it kind of creeped me out because I had no clue who she was, let alone that she knew someone in my life, or we had a mutual friend, let's put it that way. So I was talking to her more and basically found out that she was one of our friend's, Ryan's, exes. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know? And, you know, this chick has 2 kids, she's all tatted up, and, you know, I don't know her fucking story, but, so then, you know, as I talked to her a little bit more about Ryan, she started, like, you know, telling me, like, all this crazy shit, and she's like, oh, you know, I really wish I could get back with Ryan, and I basically figured out she was stalking me, not stalking me, but like following me and chatting me up to try to get to Ryan. And I'm like, what the fuck? But she started throwing all this stuff out. She's like, oh yeah, I heard Ryan got a house with his new girl and blah blah blah, and you know, this is the life that I wanted to have with him, and it wasn't possible back then, and all this stuff. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what is going on here? Like, you know, I don't know. But where I was going with that is it just a memory that just popped up in my head, and I'm like, wow, man, like, you know, she realized that, you know, she missed out. You know, Ryan is looking to kind of settle down, move on to that next step in relationship and all that, you know. I mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Ryan did propose, so now Ryan is actually engaged and everything to this girl. So I think that other chick, her name was Meg. Cause I had to like talk to Luke, and I'm like, dude, do you know some chick named Meg? And he's like, oh my god, dude. I'm like, yeah, I've been like talking to her just randomly here and there, and then found out she knew Ryan. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, yep. So I basically literally stopped talking to her after that all happened. I was like, what the fuck, man? But yeah, so Ryan's now engaged. But I'm just wondering if she kind of had that premonition or that feeling, you know. That's because you know, hanging out and talking with Jess. Like, she's like, oh, you're gonna marry her, aren't you? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, Nikki's really good. She's really nice, and you know, I don't know. That I mean, you know, that might be true. So, you know, it kind of, it's just one of those things in life. And, you know, one is it's, you know, we want what we can't have. And for some, once they get it, they realize that they never really wanted it, or they just wanted it because they couldn't have it. And for others, that, you know, that's all that they want. You know, they only want that thing for themselves or whatever. So, like, that's kind of the situation that I'm in. I'm like, dude, I just want to be friends, man. Like, let's just hang out and have a good time. Like, I don't know what's going on. So, I made it to work. I gotta get in.